Hey, Jesse.
Hi.
How's it going?
How are you?
Sorry about last week. It just got a little too much with the
Oh,
kids,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. No problem. No, it's fine.
it
It's easy
was yeah,
because it's the Zoom session, so it's like I'm here anyways.
right.
Yeah. So no worries. How's Lou doing?
She's doing great. Um, she's yeah. I mean, she's doing really well with Daisy. Um,
Good.
I'd say the biting has even gotten a bit better.
Okay.
I mean, she's only doing it now if she's like super playful, or maybe she hasn't seen someone in a little bit,
Sure.
and she's she'll just kind of get a little bit, um or if we get like a little bit too worked up outside,
Hmm.
like if we're running, sometimes we'll do like a little lap around this, a couple of trees or something,
Sure.
and then she just gets kind of like she's just playing, she just gets so excited. So
Sure.
I usually will try to like stop that behavior,
Hmm.
kind of slow it down a little bit.
Hmm.
um
How do you
because
try to
you
stop it?
Pardon me?
How do you try to stop it?
Um, Distracting her with, a toy. When in the outside situations, I usually don't have my pet corrector with me.
Sure.
That's kind of a hard one. So sometimes I'll try to use the Caesar bite.
Hmm.
Um, I've almost found I don't use the Caesar bite as much or as consistent, so that's one thing.
Hmm.
But I almost find that sometimes she's more responsive to the pet corrector than to my hand.
Sure.
So it could be I'm not doing it as consistent or not hard enough.
Hmm.
Um, but just the I've just noticed that with her.
Sure. Well, with the pet corrector, it's pretty consistent, right? When you press it, it's pretty much is what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Whereas with the Caesar Milan correction, um, the biggest thing is always the inhibition that people have naturally of just like making
Sure.
contact with their dog. So it can be either one of those things. If you feel like she's doing better, I mean, that's the main point here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said in regards to getting the zoomies, did I hear that correct?
Sorry, I missed that part.
The zoomies?
Zoo.
Yeah, you said she starts running around like very excitedly. Yeah, so that I'm pretty sure you're probably talking about zoomies.
Oh, zoomies. Sorry, I didn't
Yeah,
understand what you were saying.
yeah, zoomies. Are you familiar with that?
No.
It's when a dog gets super excited, they just start to just run around very quickly, like nonstop, and they're like very like back and forth, kind of sporadic.
Got it.
Um, it's normal. It's just overexcitement. Um,
It's actually not even that. We kind of like we run with her.
okay,
So like we just kind of like she'll just run with us and kind of chase us, and we kind of
gotcha.
run around in a
Okay,
circle. So it's
sure,
more that. And then she gets all worked up, and then we'll try to like I think she probably wants to do it again, or she's trying to play.
sure,
And so she'll get kind of like jumpy and bitey in that situation. So that's when I'll just try to like slow her down. You know, I try to get her to drop it.
okay.
Um, Lots of times, like after we do a lap, I'll have a treat.
Hmm.
So I'll give her a treat after we do a lap, and then I ask her to sit, and I give her another treat. So she kind of then slows down, and then maybe we'll do another lap or play a different game.
Okay. So when she starts to get overstimulated, because that's
Yeah,
what's happening,
yeah,
is for her, what she's doing is very natural play for her.
yeah.
But then for the human, like one, jumping, if it's muddy out, she gets you all muddy. Or two, if she's nipping playfully or biting playfully, again, just doesn't transfer well to humans
Right.
in terms of how it feels. Is knowing that I would opt to have the corrector with me,
Yeah.
um, knowing that that's a thing you're working on, because now you have to
Okay.
create a behavior of like, look, we can run around and you can run too and have fun and be excited, but you're going to stop at this degree.
Right. That's
you
good.
know.
I just have
Um,
to make the mental note of being okay. I know we're going to go run. I know we're going to go play. Just have it with me. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of, and we tend to think of the things as we're going to play. And when you start to get things like that, where there's overstimulation and then she's having issues, just keeping herself toned down, is it's really like you're playing, but it's also like training sessions,
Right.
right? Because you're having to teach her or dissuade her from doing certain behaviors,
Mm-hmm.
so that we don't build bad habits.
Mm-hmm.
Because definitely, like right now, just think anything that you allow her to do now, she's going to do as an adult.
Right. Right.
Right? A lot of people think like, oh, the dog will outgrow it, and it can happen, but it's very rare that it does. Because anytime she does something and it goes unaddressed, you're essentially allowing the behavior, which is just the same as reinforcing it.
Yeah.
Uh, and then, I mean, how big are you expecting her to get?
30 pounds.
30? Okay. So, a decent medium-sized dog. So yeah, anything that she does now, just think to yourself, even if it may look cute or whatever, do I want her to be doing this when she's 30 pounds?
Right.
You know,
She's about
that's
10 pounds now.
sure. So she's got a ways to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Um, anything else?
No. I've tried to be more conscious of like her schedule and taking her out a bit more, like,
Potty schedule?
yeah, on a potty schedule and just in general. And hard.
Okay. What's
It's
is it
uh
consistency?
it's just hard because everyone's home, right? So, and I know you said create her in the other room or something, perhaps. um so I don't know, that which is an option, which we have. So far she's still doing really well in her pen. She's not having any accidents in there, and she responds well. um and so I think it's just, there's like so many people. I've got 2 kids in virtual school, and my wife's working from home, and I'm trying to just manage it all. And so people are kind of in and out. And so, even when she's having a little rest in there, somebody comes by and kind of wakes her up. So it throws off. Maybe I was like, oh, well, I wasn't going to take her out for another hour.
Oh, but because they walked by and she woke up.
Right.
Right. Okay. I mean, you could wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, um, I mean, my thought process is, yeah, she woke up, and puppies typically have to pee right after waking up. But if
Right.
she's in her pen still, and you've just not seen those accidents, you can experiment with, like, ignoring her and fulfilling that last hour
Mm-hmm.
with her awake, because that's the one thing, is that you're trying to teach her that while she's awake, if she feels she has to go, she just has to hold it,
Right.
right, and then put her on that schedule so she goes on your time frame and not her own.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's something you could practice with. I mean, I understand the situation, because he's actually here now, he's at my facility, but a puppy where it was the same thing. Kids are being homeschooled, parents are working from home, no one's leaving, and they're just going out of town now for a vacation. Um, and he's here boarding with us. But I remember, like, it was the exact same stuff, and then they were struggling with like the potty training stuff because of that. Because also the kids would like come out and just like grab the dog and like go play with the dog, and they're like, that completely throws off
Right.
everything. We're trying to do the schedule, and the kid comes in and just like, hey, I want to play, and it's like, wait a minute, we got something that we're trying to work on. So
Now, I mean, so it goes back and forth, which again is hard because it isn't as consistent. But then there'll be stretches where the kids are kind of zoned in, and I'm keeping her, like, she's woken up, I fed her, she's out, okay, I'm gonna wait 2 hours. um and and it's a lot of it sometimes like a bit of play and then a bit of rest. So I try to like have it in both, because obviously she's pretty good at holding it when she's sleeping,
correct.
but it's just kind of keeping it when she's awake. So, you know, when I see her going over to her spot by the door, just pick her up and put her in her crate or a pen.
Right, right. Where she would typically signal to you like, "Hey, I gotta go."
Yeah.
Right. You would just, use the pen or the crate, wherever it is. And then, like, let's say as you do that, I know she hasn't had any mistakes in the pen, but like, let's say you start doing that, and all of a sudden you start noticing mistakes. That would
Yeah.
make sense, right? Because she's letting you know, I got to go to the bathroom. You're saying, nope, you got 30 minutes. I'm going to put you over here. And she's like, all right, well, I guess I'm just going to have to go here then, right?
Mhm.
So if that starts happening in the pen, then it's too much space, and then that's where I would opt for using
Go
the
the crate.
kennel.
Yeah.
But if she holds it those last 30 minutes in the pen area and it's working just as well as a crate would, then I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah. Okay. So it's more just kind of getting everyone else on board with the what I'm trying to train her,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so some of the times she'll do really well with it, and then other times, it's just there's too much stimulation, too much distraction. I can't keep track of her, and boom, she's gone off in the corner and or by the
Mm-hmm.
door. She has a few spots. She really only has one spot, which is good.
To potty or to chew to you that she's got to go?
She'll potty at the spot.
Okay. Is there any kind of
Um,
absorbent surface there, like a rug or carpet mat? Just
no, she actually just goes on the wood right next to the door.
okay. How many
Um,
mistakes in the past couple of weeks would you say?
I mean, I'd say there's at least one a day.
Okay. Yes, we want to start dropping that down to one every 2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
Because that's how you start making that progress. Is there any particular time frame where you notice that one potty a day?
No, not on a regular basis.
Okay.
I mean, we have a lot of outdoor space, like up in Michigan, so we're outside a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is hard with her. I mean, again, we're going in winter, but everything. But um, no, I can't think of like what's her time that she's doing that.
Okay. But when you
I
when you
have noticed. I have noticed that like the fake pee to just go
okay.
play. I've noticed that one before, where it's like she's peed outside. We've done our routine. She's done, and then like 20 minutes later, I see her kind of going over and kind of so maybe go for a squat, maybe and if she has, it's been like almost nothing. But
Mhm.
I can tell like she just wants to go out and play.
Sure. Um, when you guys are out with her, um, like let's say you're out for an hour and maybe she potted at the beginning of the hour. Do you do anything at the end to see if she's got to go again?
No,
You just bring her inside.
usually, yeah. I mean, we always like whenever we go out, the first thing we do is like before we play is let her go potty. Um, and then yeah, I don't think we necessarily do it on the way in.
Okay. Does she go in her pen after coming in, or is she free?
Um, depends. Depends kind of. I might let her be free for a little bit
Hmm.
and then put her in her pen.
Any mistakes ever happen there?
Perhaps I don't know. I can try to track it a bit better and see like
Yeah, that's something I'd start doing. Is every time the puppy has a mistake, I always think like, uh, when did it happen and possibly why, right? So like, let's say, time frame wise, let's say she always pees midday between 12 and 2, right?
mhm,
First thing I think is like that's after lunch, you know, or maybe there's like a routine of play in there, and then you're like bringing her in and she's not being penned. So there's like mistakes happening at that time frame. They just played and then comes in and is not put away, and there's a
mhm,
potty mistake, right? It's because then it allows us to kind of just pinpoint what we need to change in the schedule, to prevent that potty mistake so that we're making more progress.
mhm.
The more often or the more time she ends up pottying in that spot, or spots that she uses,
Hmm.
the more that habit is being developed,
Right.
and then it becomes hard to break because it's like when people use potty pads and I come in like a few months later, they've been doing potty pads for a bit, the puppy's not potty trained. First thing I do is, tell them get rid of that potty pad because when you remove it, your puppy's stuck on, I would pee on something here. But now that thing is gone, but I'm still in the same general area. And then when they remove it, they usually will see the puppy still trying to use that spot.
Hmm.
So then they'll have to correct the puppy or they'll block it with something or whatever um, until the dog outgrows that behavior and is potty trained. Um, but anytime there's a potty mistake, I mean, if you want to have like a little notepad, like what I got here,
Hmm.
and then I go, the 24th potty mistake after lunch,
Hmm.
right? Maybe a note of waited too long. So like
Right.
you have an idea, right? And then if you start looking at your notepad, you're like, oh wow, like most of these are after she's eating lunch because I wait too long before I let her out.
Yeah.
You know, and I get
What
it.
what's the general, because anytime that one happens, I'm like, oh, that's my fault. Like I waited too long, or I got distracted, or I said, oh,
Sure.
I'll do it in 5 minutes. I'm just gonna, is it, when she finishes that bowl, gets a bit of water, just take her right out, or wait like 5 minutes?
Every dog is different. Most often it's usually 15 to 30 minutes. Okay.
Oh, I can, like, if I go more than 10,
She potties.
she'll potty.
Okay.
So that's why I try to give myself, like, I try to go 5 to 10,
Sure.
just so I'm not like picking her right up right after
Yep.
she's eaten.
Yep.
But yeah, she can be pretty fast in that sense. So
Yeah. Then I would just set a 5 minute timer.
okay.
Like, does she eat her food like in one go, or does she like peck at it?
No, she eats it in one go.
Okay, cool. As soon as you put that bowl down, just hit a 5 minute timer. She'll be
Yeah.
done before the timer is done.
Yeah.
It goes off, and then you just make it a habit of running her out. I wouldn't even wait the 10 minutes.
Got it.
Um, and then, once because how does she now? Like 3 to 4 months?
She's 13 weeks.
Yes, 3 months. Yep. Typically around 5 to 6 months is when you can start weaning them away from that after a meal potty break.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's when you can start stretching them to like, okay, like I'm not going to take you out immediately after eating anymore. Like you're gonna, hold it.
Hold it.
Um,
Okay.
but at her age, I would do that, and I would just put a timer on, or like I would
So
hold.
that one, so like the after meal one, I'm like, yep, I got it. You've sent that signal. I just need to do it a little bit sooner.
Yeah,
Um, a lot of the times, I think she just wants to go play. A lot of the times, it's like she she's like, come on, let's go run, let's go do something.
hmm
Um, so I don't know, but I think if I start jotting it down and trying to make a note of it.
yeah. It sounds kind of silly, but it does help out a lot because anytime I ask clients, or I'm like, oh, well, what were the potty mistakes wrong? Because I'm trying to figure out what's going on. It can
Yeah.
be they gave too much water, they're waiting too long after feeding, the puppy's been playing or after a nap. Like there's all these things, but then when I ask them, they don't know. They just know that there was a potty mistake, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Once they start making notes, then they can start pinpointing like, oh wow, like like you said, waiting too long after eating or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, the other thing is like with her, I know she's a pup, and I think people usually think of puppies as these little beings that want to play all the time. Just keep in mind that if she comes wanting to play and you engage with her, like I don't have a problem with it. Like I don't personally care, but you're reinforcing her telling you that she wants to engage in something,
Hmm.
right? And what can happen is you end up getting a dog that becomes very demanding.
Hmm.
And then when you're like, well, I'm busy because I have to help the kids with school or whatever. And next thing you know, you have a dog just barking at you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they don't stop. And then you got to correct that. Like I had a gentleman who used to throw uh, a tennis ball in the home for his chocolate lab.
Hmm.
And he would put the ball away after they were done. Like he could throw it for an hour and he'd put it away, and the lab would literally be just jumping up and just bark at the cabinet until he brought out the ball again. And I told him, oh, when you play ball with your dog, do you initiate it or does your dog? He's like, my dog does. And I was like, and then what do? He's like, well, then I throw the ball for an hour. I think he's tired. I put the ball away, and then he's barking at the cabinet for another 2 hours. I was like, yeah, because he like dogs are good at regulating, like I'd say like things like food and stuff, like they'll take what they need. But when it
Hmm.
comes to like behavioral things, every time that she's like, play with me and you engage with her, you're creating that habit. And then it becomes incessant. And then it's like the dog, like they won't have an off switch. Like it's constant wanting to play.
Hmm.
So then I always recommend, because remember the dog, the puppy that you have now, right? You're raising the dog you want when she's an adult.
Right.
Just like with kids, right? You as they get mature and they get older, you're gradually like raising them to be responsible and good human beings, right? So for dogs, similar. People tend to think, oh, it's a cute little puppy, and I'm going to do all these things because it's cute, right? And they're reinforcing all these things, and then next thing you know, you have a 2-year-old dog that barks for everything,
Hmm.
and then is like nonstop barking, demanding, and like frustrated biting because they want to engage, and you're like, no, like I don't want to. It's so I would advise that you also put limitations to things now. Just like with kids, like I didn't get every toy that I wanted growing up, and same thing with dogs and puppies. Like if they want to engage and play, you sure. Like I don't, like I'll engage, but I won't do so every single time because then you're gonna kill
Hmm.
yourself. Okay.
I would say for the most, like, there's sometimes where she's barking at the door, and it's a time we might have gone out anyway. We'll take her out, but I would say for the most part, it's us initiating like the play. It's us saying, "Hey, we're gonna go out," and you know, I can't even tell necessarily if there's like a particular ball or toy that she tends towards. Like, I'll just pick one up and do it a few rounds, and then I try not to overdo it because I don't want it. A, she'll get tired of it, and then B, I just don't want it to like go on forever.
Sure.
So we try to mix it up a little bit, so
Hmm.
it's not just one thing all the time.
Sure.
Um, so I think we try to regulate that, and then she kind of regulates that too. Like she'll be like, "All right, I'm kind of done with that one anyway,"
Hmm.
and then maybe I'll pick a different one. Like she doesn't go to another toy, but I'll pick up a different toy. Say,
Gotcha.
okay, let's do this one.
Sure.
Um,
As long
so
as
then, yeah,
there's rules is all it is.
yeah. So, all right. So then, to your point, if we want a dog that has that balance of play, but is also like great at cuddling on the couch and watching a movie,
Hmm.
how do we? How do we do that? How does the cuddle part and the calm part work its way into it?
Okay. So one would be, let's say you initiate play.
Yeah.
Is most people don't have a definitive end. Okay.
Okay.
So like for me growing up, if I was playing video games, my mom would say you have 30 minutes. And at
Right.
30 minutes, you turn that off.
Yeah.
Right. So I had my timer or whatever, go off, and then I knew I'm done. Okay. Um, and for dogs, people will engage with them until either the dog themselves decide I'm done,
Mhm.
or they'll just stop playing with the dog and they'll leave, but the dog will still be like wanting more. Okay. So
Mhm.
that's their definitive end. So what you could do is you're playing with Lou and maybe you have a 15-minute timer. And then once that time is done, you just stop, like literally just stop, right? And let's say Lou is still wanting more. You can have a cue if you'd like enough or no more or whatever word you want to use as a now we're done. And then so like you would stop, no more. You start to put away the toys. Maybe Lou's going, hey, don't put those away. I still want to play. You would actually then correct. Okay. So if you see dogs playing in a group and then one dog decides, I'm done, they will remove themselves. And then you may see another dog who's not done continue to pursue. And this dog will then turn around and either growl, bark, snap, or nip to say, I'm done.
Hmm.
So that's their definitive end. So people, because we're talking about something positive, right? Play, something fun, is they think like, well, why would I want to correct my puppy for something fun? I'm like, because that's what they do to each other. Like literally, you watch dogs and you'll see one get tired of it and they'll just walk away. And if one dog keeps pursuing, they'll bark, growl, snap, or nip at that dog to say, I'm out. You can go do something over there.
Hmm.
Right. So if I were to play with Lou, we would engage. And I mean, like my pit, like I'll grab her jowls and I have to pull them and wrestle with her, which I do because she enjoys it. I enjoy it. I enjoy it. It's her style of play. She's like a very rough gladiator type of a player. But as soon as I stop, she stops, and we're talking about high intensity, where like she's nipping and biting, like she'll scrape me with her teeth. It's just part of the play. And then once I go enough, right, she'll stop and she'll shake, and then she'll go and lay down on the couch. Literally, like that's how it plays out, right? She's like, okay, so I can bring her up to a 10, and as soon as I stop and say enough, she shakes it off because that's how dogs. It's called the stress shake. So then after she's been stimulated, it builds up like their stress levels go up. So she
Hmm.
shakes that off and she goes, okay, we're done. I'm gonna go chill. Okay. But I did it like the very way I'm telling you is after when she was a puppy, when I would engage with her, she'd still want to go. And then I would correct her. And then I would go about my business. And then maybe she'd want to kind of try to initiate again. And I would correct her. So then she learned, oh, when dad says enough, it means we're done. And I just go and chill. Okay. So that's how you have a
Oh,
definitive.
all right. So just tell. All right. So we're playing, we're running outside.
Mhm.
15 minutes. I kind of set a timer. Say, okay, enough. Give her a treat. Like if she's kind of stopped, or am I just using that signal?
So the whole treat to reinforce thing
Yeah.
um, is a very common concept. Now you technically don't have to do it. I don't have a problem if you do it.
Okay.
Okay. Like let's say you did that. Let's say you said enough, and Lou just did completely chill.
Yeah.
And then if you when you give that treat, that technically would work because you're reinforcing the fact that she just shut down. But you would want to be calm when you give that treat. Okay.
Not outside.
Sorry.
Not outside, or what do you mean?
No, you want to be calm.
Oh, calm. I thought you said home.
No,
Calm.
you want to be calm because like let's say she did stop and settle, and you're like, "Good girl, Lou. Yeah, here's a treat." You're just jacking her up full of energy again,
Right.
right?
Right.
So you're not creating that definitive end. So and you can do both, where it's like you say enough, she stops, and maybe you notice like her shake, like you will pay attention. You'll start to see her doing this, and you okay?
Yeah. I had something.
Um, Now I've gotten used to now people getting calls, so I'm assuming it's a phone call. Um, you can give the treat going like you're reinforcing that yes, when I said enough and you settled, good, right?
Right.
But then maybe another time you say enough and she doesn't settle, and you can use your pet corrector, right? Little spray, and it just kind of shocks the system a bit, and you
Yep.
see it's gonna look like what's that, and then you see her settle. You could technically then give the reward, but then you also don't need to, right? Because remember, dogs don't give each other treats,
Right.
right? Like at the dog park, they literally just snap at each other and go, I'm done, leave me alone. They
Yep.
don't come back later and go, hey, thanks a lot. Here's a little peace offering. You know, the
Right.
treat stuff is for the human.
Got it.
Okay. And I have nothing against it because it's good for reinforcing.
Yeah.
It's good for, I want to see that again.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why I don't have a problem with that here. But I wouldn't use the treat to incentivize her to calm down.
Hmm.
Okay, because that's what a lot of people try to do is they try to use the treat to get the dog to calm
Right.
when really the correction would achieve the calm, and then once that's established, then I would reward.
Okay.
Okay. um when it comes
So that
to
makes sense. So correct it once she's calmed. I can give her a treat if I want,
correct.
and then bring her in to the couch, for instance, or have her follow me to the couch.
Right, because now you're talking about the cuddling aspect, correct?
Right. Now I'm talking about like, okay, and or even just I like your idea. Hey, can I call you right back?
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Please leave your message.
Hey.
All right. Where were we at?
Accidents? Did we get past accidents? Were we there?
Accidents.
Oh, we were on
the calming her down.
the calming down and kind of balancing. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So for the cuddling on the couch part, it's simple. Technically, if you've calmed her down after the play,
Yeah.
there shouldn't be a problem on the couch. Now, some dogs and puppies, when you first invite them up or when you first put them on the couch and like everybody's on the couch, they tend to get like really excited
Uh-huh.
and like run around and all that stuff. is that in order to create the calmness, like most people try to like wake the puppy out. I just correct them. It's usually what it comes down to, you know. Um, so you could have, you go to the couch, and you have the pet corrector ready. And the moment you see something that looks like escalation, you would want to correct that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's perfectly fine. I mean, it's like with kids, like when we used to go to church, um, my mom would say, like, you have to behave for church. And as a little kid, I had to like sit still for an hour, which was hard.
Right.
But if I acted up or anything, like I didn't get punished in church, but like afterwards, she's like, well, you know what, you didn't behave yourself, so like now you're not going to go to the park, or like now you're not going to see your friends today, or whatever. There was still a consequence,
Right.
And because people, I'm assuming you're thinking, but this is like, I want this to be seen as a positive, but it's not about being seen as a positive. It's more so just like disagreeing with certain behaviors. Like when we're on the couch, we don't want zoomies or running and jumping on people. When we're out in the yard and we're doing that, that's when you can do it,
Right.
right? So you're just setting the tone and time of place for things.
Mm-hmm.
And I have I'll email it to you. I have a playlist of YouTube videos just
Mm-hmm.
from around, YouTube, of like mothers correcting their puppies.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is it's a litter of puppies. They're younger. I'm pretty sure they're younger than 8 weeks in the video. Um, and the mom, it's like a golden retriever or a yellow lab. The puppies are loud. They're just barking and yipping or whatever, being little puppies. And then she comes in growling, and she starts snipping and biting the puppies until they're all calm. Okay. And I really like that video because people typically with puppies assume I'm going to have this bundle of barking energy
Mm-hmm.
for the next foreseeable future, right? I tell people, no. When I get puppies, or when we have puppies here, they're 2 months and they're calm, they're quiet, but we're disagreeing with things that we don't want.
Mm-hmm.
Much like the mom does in that video. For whatever reason, she's just like, you guys are too loud. I want you guys to be quiet. And it just comes in, and people see it as being mean or aggressive. I'm like, no. She was just, for whatever reason, she just didn't want them being loud, and she had no problem establishing that, using physicality. So
I was just going to try to bring up. So, Daisy's a Daisy's the other dog. Lou. Lou, she's got a really good temperament, and I'd say that she doesn't go overboard too much, right? She's got a really good kind of level of play. We do want to establish that calm time. So one thing I've noticed is that like she never really sits still on the couch.
Right.
Only in the past maybe 48 hours, to be honest,
okay.
has she actually started to like kind of put her head down on someone's lap,
Mm-hmm.
or sit on like a little piled blanket, on top of the couch where she could kind of just rest for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that she would be doing zoomies or that she'd be going like crazy,
Mm-hmm.
but she would just never like settle.
Right.
And we like a good settle on the couch. Who doesn't, right? So that's kind of where. So like for instance, should I get the idea of the pet corrector saying like, look, if we're escalating, that's not what we want on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
That gets a correction.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense to me. What, like, should I, if we're having couch time,
Mm-hmm.
should I not put any of her toys on the couch?
Right.
Okay. Because like sometimes what I'll do is I'll not like a squeaky toy, but like a more chewy one.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put that on there so that she can kind of like cuddle and chew on that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I wanted to ask: is it better to just have no toys on the couch and reinforce a calm behavior,
Correct.
or can a chewy thing be okay? Would it?
In the beginning, I would advise against it.
Okay.
Because
that just creates escalation.
Because you're trying to create calmness, right? And you got to create that first before you can introduce something like that. I'm not opposed to the chewy thing or the bone or an antler or whatever, but because she hasn't learned to settle yet, it's going to work against you.
Okay.
Okay. So then, like, let's say, and then when we talk about, like, when you said she doesn't know how to settle, like, let's say she's just like walking back and forth, like exploring the couch, right?
Right.
It's nothing bad, right? The
Yeah.
dog doesn't do anything bad, but it's still something we correct, because what it is it's the brain moving. Okay. It's the
Right.
brain needing some kind of engagement. And even though it's low level, if I let it go unaddressed, could she outgrow it? Sure. Like, it's a relatively low level behavior, right?
Yeah.
But then we also add in, like, the kids and their energy, possibly things start to stack, right?
Hmm.
Is the pet corrector I think in that setting is an appropriate, like, just like, no, like, just chill even more so than you are now, right?
Right.
And then when you start seeing you're able to invite her onto the couch, and she starts to gravitate more quickly to a calm demeanor or more settled state
Yep.
consistently, right? Like, don't think 2 days and then you're in the clear, like, consistently, a couple of weeks or whatever. Then I may also calmly introduce, like, here's a bully stick, right? And you can chew on that. Squeaky toys tend to stimulate, because do you know what the squeaker is meant for?
What?
It's meant to mimic a dying animal. They make very high pitched noises. So that's what a squeaky toy does. That's why a lot of dogs like to gut their stuffed animals and pull out the squeaker and then destroy the squeaker. So the squeak will stimulate a lot of dogs,
Right.
right? So things that she can chew on or
It,
play with in a calm fashion would be fine once you've
mhm.
established that kind of baseline. If you noticed it escalates her for whatever reason, like she just starts to get really excited, now you're going against what you're trying to achieve, then I'd advise you don't use those things.
Yeah. Don't use those,
Yeah.
because I mean, and her excited, for instance, is, she'll kind of like, she'll start licking our face, or kind of kind of like jumping on, not jumping, but even just kind of like crawling on us, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Right. Like, that's kind of her excited, and there could be a little few nips in there, but I don't think it's just kind of, it's part play. She's just in trying to engage us,
Yeah.
and that's that level. That's where she's at on the couch. We'll bring her up on the couch, and she doesn't really want to sit still, but she's just kind of like moving around,
Sure.
and it's very sweet when she's kind of licking you and kissing you, but it's also like, we just want to, like, oh, okay, like, we're watching a movie, or we're like doing some work, we're just sitting down. So
Right.
that's what I want to try to get to as well.
Essentially what she did earlier.
Yeah,
When you first
exactly.
on the couch is right here. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly, which is like, it's not bad, like, it's like pretty sweet and it's cute,
Right.
but it's also like, I just want to be able to sit too.
Right, right. And like, let's say, like, you don't want to, like, eliminate that, right? Uh,
Right.
what you could do is you would just simply have some kind of verbal marker, like stop or no, or enough, like the same thing you'd use to
Hmm.
disengage your play, and then follow it with the correction. Because then what you're teaching her is, when we invite you up, like, let's say she decides to start licking you, and
Uh-huh.
you decide, like, you know what, I'm okay with this for now.
Right.
She's still going to do that. But then when you decide, like, okay, now I need to watch, like, I want to watch the movie or something,
Right.
you have a cue to then end it that would be followed by a correction.
Uh-huh.
If we know, like, I get some clients who they have big dogs and they don't want the dogs, like, all in their business. Because again,
Right.
remember, what you're allowing now will carry on as she's an adult, right?
Yeah, that's exactly kind of what I'm getting at, and I think you're understanding that is it's kind of nice at first for a few minutes,
Mhm.
and then we just want to sit.
Correct.
So using that cue, and I like using the same cue. It's like, okay, this is enough. I'm
Right.
going to probably try to use that one for outside and in. Like, okay, this is our calming cue. Enough.
Correct.
And then correct, and then that'll kind of shock her, and then kind of like stun her, and then just try to like calm her.
Yeah. And then what you might find is, let's say you do an overcorrection or something, right? By
Yeah.
chance,
Yeah.
and she removes herself from the couch.
Okay.
All I do is go pick her back up, go back on the couch, sit down, and set her next to you.
Hmm.
And then you may have to, like, kind of contain a little bit, because
Right.
because I doubt you'll have that, but if it is an overcorrection, the dog will like overcompensate. And I want them to learn that, you know, I did not want them to remove themselves. They can be there. It's just
Hmm.
settle.
Hmm.
Okay, so then you bring her back into the contacts and just kind of let her rest there with you, and eventually she'll go into a settled state. But then it helps the brain just kind of realize, like, oh, okay, like that correction, even though it was a little bit firmer or whatever, didn't mean for wasn't intended for me to leave.
Hmm.
Okay, because things like that can happen when you're putting rules to things like that. That the dogs will kind of go like, well, if I can't lick you all over your face, then I'll just not even be here. You know, it's kind of like kids.
Yeah.
They go overboard. Uh, I mean, as humans, we're like spiteful and stuff, but you know, dogs aren't like that. But I was working with a client, and they play tug with their dog,
Yeah.
and I told him, yeah, it's perfectly fine. I can encourage it. You just want to have control. And then I was like, but once you start establishing rules and control and consequences, expect your dog's tug drive to go down, because now it's not a free for all.
Hmm.
Right? Now you're putting rules to things, so now the dog starts to like get dissuaded from it. But once they learn the balance of, oh, like I can play tug and play tug intensely, but when you say drop, it just means I let it go, and then we
Right.
keep playing. If you know, so if you see something like that in the beginning, don't worry, it's not going to make her hate cuddling with you guys. It's just
Yeah.
she's just trying to process how it what's going on.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, not right now. You know, I think we're keep working on the potty training. Um, you know, I hopefully continue to see progress with Daisy and with biting, and now I'll start working on kind of some of those transitions from outside in, and some couch time, some kind of calm time as well.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So if you need
Okay.
anything else, let us know.
Yep.
Otherwise, you have a happy holiday, and then
Thank you too. Great.
okay.
See you next week.
Awesome. Thank you.
See ya. Bye.